Okay, we'll do roll call then. And I did open that back door just to get some air in here. If it's too cold or too loud, we can use it. Okay. Start online. And I try to start down. Miranda Bonowski, present. Tiana Bergen. William Cardestro.
Present.
Jeannie Gross.
Here.
Laura Unity.
Here.
Diana Kessler.
Here.
Michael Mondini.
Here.
Judy Nelson.
Here.
Jim Parks. Aaron Secretary. And Rose Kelly.
Here.
We have a quorum, Billy.
Okay, well, then that's super. So, right, we have one chapter, to review. Hopefully that feels a bit more comfortable. Not to take away from the other visits and all, but just, we're on the backside of this and just to make sure we're all complete on our thoughts and participation. Feels a little more friendly to just have one chapter. So there we go. So after we have a presentation, like we usually do of the chapter, then we'll spend that time going back around to have a participation in the chapter from a big picture or context of it or whatever it is along those lines. Then we'll go through the goals and so on. And again, take a little bit of a turn on it. And anyway, it's all good. I can publish the group of the poet. Does that sound fair to you? That's right. Walter wants to read.
Okay. Just a couple things I did want to ask about the meeting schedule while you're here. Because this is where we are tonight. We have tonight, we're looking at community services and public safety. And then after that, we don't have a meeting schedule because we have another couple of things to look at. We've got economies and resilient economies and housing. And I'm suggesting March 13th as an option for that. And then we have kind of some wrap up things to look at would be the appendices, the glossary and introduction. So if it works for all of you, I'm proposing March 27th. So they're both still, those are both still Thursdays, same time, same place. Just wanted to get a sense for who's here because I didn't get a lot of responses tonight. I figured we'd catch it tonight.
It didn't work on my computer. Whatever you sent.
It was just an email. I was just asking for a response. So here we are tonight. If you're available the 13th and 27th.
Say six.
Jean Gross is saying that she won't be able to attend on the 13th, but can on the 27th.
Okay. Anybody else have a conflict on either?
I'll do Zoom on the 13th, but I can be here on the 27th.
Okay. And we have a few other people who we haven't heard from, but in general, those dates will be satisfactory.
Yeah. Super.
Great, thank you. And one other thing I did want to mention, because it would be nice during one of these upcoming meetings, if we could get a group photo. So I know, just to encourage everybody, I don't know how you feel about that, but it would be really nice to have in front of that nice rock wall or somewhere.
Are you gonna put it in the report? Yeah.
Yes, if it was a plan.
Oh, you are?
Oh, yeah, so, I met all of you who are online, if we could, it sounds like maybe you're not available on the 27th, right?
No,
Or you are, okay, so maybe the 27th would be
Sure.
the date for a group photo. Okay, March 27th, perfect. And then we'll encourage many of you to be here.
Melissa? Melissa,
Yes,
Melissa, this is Rose. Is that both in March?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Is that both in March?
Yes. March
Okay.
27th.
I am not available for both of those dates.
For either date.
For either day, I have already a standing meeting on the 13th in the evening. And then on the 27th, I'll be traveling.
Okay, there is March 20th, which is in between. We can move to that for one or the other. Does anyone have a conflict on March 20th? So do March 20th.
I'm okay on March 20th.
Okay, well, why don't we review then the resilient economies and housing chapter March 20th? And then keep the 27th and do the group photo on the 20th.
Right.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Extreme. Thank you. Okay.
March 20th is, yeah.
March 21st.
So the 13th is number.
Right, we'll do, I'm gonna change this right now so we can see this. It'll be March 20th. Oh, I can't speak. So, okay. Yeah, we'll do March 20th and 27th. Thank you.
March 20th and 27th.
20th and 27th. Okay, so then, and then I think we may want to do some introductions after, right before we get started. So in the room, Neil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, Neil Chapman. Covering both Flagstaff Fire and Southern Fire veterans.
Thanks for jumping in. Tim?
Hey, good evening. I'm Tim Carter. I'm the acting director of Coconino County Emergency Management.
Thanks for joining. And online, we have Keith Becker and Russell Randall. If you would want to introduce yourself. And I think
Hello. Yeah, hello, I'm Keith Becker. I am with the Commission on Inclusion and Adaptive Living, the Flagstaff Commission, and I've been a citizen of Flagstaff for 47 years. So I'm here as a citizen of Flagstaff to see how we can, see what you guys are doing and what the plans are, and maybe how we can give some input at some point in time. Thank you.
okay, and Russ Randall is also on that commission, so. Thank you for that, and with that, then we can just get started into the chapter. I wanted to mention this is a big chapter and has a lot of topics in it, community services and public safety, but I wanted to just point to the maps real quickly because the visuals, and I'm sorry, I'll pull them up on the online so you can look at them from the document as well. So, and it will be, again, the display is not great online, but this first map is a map, and I'm going to just go down to the legend of the public service facilities in the county. So I just wanted to show here that on this map, we looked at all of the schools, the libraries, the health service facilities, school district boundaries, and then what we call public service facilities. Those are county buildings that are open facing to the public. And these are the different topic areas that we discuss in the document. So, you can see their groupings because, for instance, with the health service facilities, there are so many of them, they wouldn't possibly show up well on a single map. So we've done some groupings, and then you can see also the icons are kind of in a gradient based on numbers. So the larger the icon, the more numbers are included. So for instance, the larger icon of schools means that there's more than 4 schools in that location. And the way we organized this was because we wouldn't be able to have an exact location on the map. We decided to show, for instance, in Page, there are both health service facilities, there's schools, and there's library there. So just kind of stacked in a linear fashion to display what services there are. So this is a map that we put together to help illustrate that information in the plan. So again, this might be an easier map to see rather than what's up here. So did you have any comments on that?
So does it have fire and
Now, fire is a different map.
so it's a different map?
Right.
Okay.
yeah, fire and public safety is another map, and I'll just show that one now. Because otherwise it would be very much too busy. And so this is the map, and these still need some refinement. So this is the public safety facility. Hi, Aaron. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, you guys. So this one then kind of shows police station locations and fire stations, and then the regional plan boundary. Now, what we want to do here, because again, within the regional plan boundary, there are a lot of fire stations. So they're overlapping each other, and they overlap each other also, for instance, up the page. So we need to clean this up and collapse them into groupings again, so you can see how many are in the area.
So just so I could follow up on my question, I guess
Yeah.
really what this here is, on this map here, you show like a district of how, like in different colors
The districts are, yeah, they are showing up.
on this, but then on this here, is it similar thing where you have districts for those fire, departments and regions that go with them, or are they?
They are. So this is showing both the fire districts. The interesting thing is in the county, many of the fire districts are so small. They're not showing up on the map as you can't really see a color. I know Neil can speak for this, but for instance, you can look here in the Flagstaff region, they're bigger and they're showing up, they show up much better if you look at the print copy. Right here. So these, if you look at the globe of Flagstaff, these colored areas are the district boundaries, right? But I want to show you, like, for instance, here, in Tusayan, you can see a little tiny spot of green. That's the small district in Tusayan. There's one down in, right here. This one is, which one is this? This is the Highlands. Oh no, this is the,
With a high country or something, is that the new one?
this one, yeah. So, some of them are just so small. They come into a small area. They're not really showing up.
How do you know which one goes to all of that country in the middle where there isn't a fire department?
Yeah, I'm gonna let
That's
you
what I'm trying to
know.
get to.
Also, I was just reviewing the text this afternoon. Outside of those districts where it's based on like the people who are paying for that service. In theory, that is where the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management has fire response authority over those spots. Considering their capacity doesn't really meet the size of the landscape, they will often rely on those local fire district partners. So let's say somebody on Baton Rouge calls 911, they're not in the fire district. That's going to then go route to the state, who then makes some sort of request of service from the nearest available fire district. And then they can determine if they have the availability to go or not.
Same thing for Valley?
Valley, I don't know, they have, Valley does not have.
There's no fire district in that.
There's something there now, I don't, there's like either a pay for service or something, there's like.
High country.
High country something,
Restriction.
Yeah.
High country
So that comes out of Williams?
They're now 64.
Red
Near
Lake.
Red Lake.
Oh, we're up one.
Have you looked
Red.
at this map?
yeah.
Holy smokes.
So yeah, the official district would just be that tax base that's funding that responding company of some sort. They regularly go outside of the district to provide services. It's just not something that they guarantee because those aren't paying customers.
They're not, so this map then I think illustrates the gaps, if you will, in coverage. And so that is what a large focus is, on some of the policies in here is to encourage communities to form those fire districts or to, want to subscribe to them to help expand that service. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to set the stage based on the mapping, which I think kind of tells the story. All right, well then, and then we are open for comments on these. I know these are draft maps. There's some cleanup that needs to happen. But you guys are welcome to write on these, give us comments, whatever. Because they are intended to be helpful. Yeah, and so, Laura's just commenting, the pop out of the Flagstaff area always covers part of the county, so we're gonna try to make that more visible, so we're not covering anything up. Let me go back up to the top. So we have again, we start out with the value and vision statements. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly and then turn it over to Billy to ask each of you about your specific comments. But this chapter is really intended to talk about services provided by the county and other public agencies, education, health services, and then public safety, which is a big component. There's several components of public safety, so we'll get into that. Again, we've got information here based right out of our survey and focus groups, kind of setting the stage for what important priorities are. And this was an interesting piece of information that came out of the countywide survey because infrastructure, wildfires, and flooding, and access to healthcare came up as important issues to people that were responding to the survey. So, and you can see based on the percentage, but those are the relative points for this chapter. Okay. And then we start out with, I did want to mention this short paragraph on county facilities is really intended to just talk about buildings that the county has and public facing buildings. So we have a facilities master plan. If you've never seen that or heard about it, the board just heard a presentation on it. There's ongoing evaluation about buildings that need updating, looking at capacity, looking at what buildings are old, so there's a whole planning process that goes behind facilities that we thought would be important to include here. Solid waste. Important to note, Coconino County is not a waste provider. We don't collect trash, but there are some services available. There's a green waste drop-off site at Willard Springs. There, you can obviously take trash to the landfill at Cinder Lakes. And then there is a transfer station in Williams. So this has information in it about what services are available to county residents, realizing it's an issue for people, but this is what we have. Other than, we know there are private services that people can contract with. Wastewater, we've talked a bit about wastewater previously and water resources. Most wastewater systems in the county are on site. There are a few communities, Kachina Village, Belmont, being two that have individual wastewater division services, but most residents have an on-site service. Talk about that. And then education, this was updated significantly over the current plan rather. And, we worked with the superintendent of schools to make sure that this information is correct. And we did have there's a comment from Jim on education, and I guess we should just go through some comments.
Yeah, you'll have a chance.
Yeah, okay, so we did make some updates based on those comments, but there's a lot of information in here on public schools, as well as higher education, vocational training, and then early childhood, because there are a number of agencies that provide services for early childhood education, including NACOG, including Health and Human Services, and yeah, so again, we're not going to go through all of these details. You can stop and talk about your specific comments later. Libraries, this was a new addition. We talked with the library director and felt like it was important to include a bit about libraries in the county, since I did not know there's a law library like that. And there are two public library branches, and you can see the icons on the map, Supai, they don't have a library per se, but they get books. So there's a service out there for books at that location. So yeah, that was something that we were really grateful. And you can see on this graphic here, this actually tells you about the branch libraries and the affiliate libraries. And then public health, Health and Human Services does a lot for the county. They, and I think what's important to really focus on, because there are planning efforts that they do that they're required to do every 5 to 3 years that directly relate to what we're doing in land use planning. So and I'm gonna get this mixed up, I think it's every 5 years they do the community health needs assessment. And then from that, they tear off and do a health improvement plan. So these are their marching orders, if you will, on sets their priorities every 3 to 5 years on what they focus on. And these are direct links into those plans. But what's interesting then is to look at this graphic, because this is the social determinants of health are they are now focusing on. And when you start to look at these, for instance, under neighborhood and physical environment, you can see the relationship of what they're focusing on to land use planning, housing, transportation, parks, playgrounds, walkabilities, and co-geography. And then you look over under education, literacy, language, early childhood education, vocational training. There's that nexus between a lot of the other topics in this chapter as being important for human health. For humans to have a quality of life, we need these different social systems in place. So I am not an HHS staff person, and I think we have somebody joining us tonight. If you have specific questions, but not quite here yet. So this is though something that, it's their new focus, if you will. And then we talk about utility infrastructure, and think of utilities, the big utilities. Big electric power lines, big pipelines, these are the big utilities that provide energy and services to the county. So we talk about those. And then we talked specifically about telecommunications, which is, overall communications, self-service. It includes broadband, and they are two different things. Telecommunications is really more about connectivity overall, and broadband is specifically providing that broadband internet. And there's an effort going on, and it is driven by this broadband equity access deployment program, which was a program funded at the federal level, and it is providing funding to get broadband out to the rural remote areas. So there's equity in the remote areas can access to broadband, high-speed internet, and as we know, that can provide all sorts of connections, educational opportunities for people from remote areas. So this is a program ongoing. You can read the BEAD and BEAD program in Arizona to really understand what it's doing. But my basic understanding is this is providing funding for internet service providers. They have to bid on it to go out and actually install the infrastructure out in the rural areas to get that connectivity. So the broadband is a very specific program that is pretty exciting, because when you look at this, they estimated that about 17,000 households in the county were either unserved or underserved, meaning they didn't have fast connection to the internet. And then, so that's kind of the big section on public services. And then we start talking about public safety. And then within public safety, we give it kind of an overview of emergency response and hazards. And we talked about, the response from, it does talk first of all about emergency response connections and the 911 system and how that works. This has been updated. Apparently the sheriff's office is using a new 911 system, the next generation. So, they're continually expanding the type of coverage that they have and the 911 services that they respond to. And so that is important to think about, because it can, expanded self-service can enhance that. It's not necessarily going to enhance it, but it can. You have a question?
We have the sheriff's deputy here.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you explain a little bit more about that?
Oh, I didn't
I'm
see
an
one.
extension officer, not a deputy.
Oh. Well, it's my mistake.
So it's all right.
Can you enlighten us about this communication system that she was talking about?
Right now, I know it relies on the GIS information.
links back to our information system, so everything is geolocated on a map. When call comes in, you were able to dispatch accordingly. So it is really neat. It's really allowed when I approve the budget to work to the JS.
And I am reading here that it talks about it provides better GPS location for cell phones. And I'll make sure we're not even on the wrong project. You have anything?
I just know there's a lot of folks working on trying to, I want to say modernize, which implies that we're not modern, but improve our entire dispatching system. We're on fire, which I assume involves police and sheriff as well. I don't have a lot of details, but I'm happy to judge that stuff down.
So yeah, but this is the most current information that we got from sheriff's office and our information technology service. So I wanted to mention too, natural and other hazards. We took information from county's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, which points to 10 natural and other hazards as and I'm going to let Tim speak to this a little bit more, but as really the focus of the hazard mitigation, and it includes, and I can make this a little bigger. Obviously, wildland fire, flood, flash floods, post-wildfire floods, drought, public health outbreaks, pandemics, excessive heat, hazmat issues, and winter storms, dam failures, earthquakes, and seismic hazards, and high winds and tornadoes. So this is something, and Tim jump in, that has been identified specific to the county. So that's what we use to help inform this part of this chapter. Because it's really county specific and discusses basically how we can respond to those.
Yeah, it will, so this plan is actually, it's a good time because we're actually going into the review process for this now. It's one that we have to do every 5 years for FEMA requirements, but we do identify the top hazards across the county. It's a multi-jurisdictional plan. So it includes the county and then all incorporated municipalities. This year, we're going to add NAU because they've got some unique hazards as well over there, but using kind of a matrix of, risk and probability that stuff will identify the top hazards that we have. They'll get kind of a numerical ranking for each of those jurisdictions. And the next half of the plan, it starts to identify mitigation measures and assigning those measures to different entities. So, what can for the city of Flagstaff, what can Neil and his crew of Flag Fire do to mitigate the wildfire threat, big picture projects over the next 5 years? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It does rely kind of a lot of other plans like this for the community and community engagement like that. So we'll pull a lot of your information from this.
And then to complement that then is the emergency operation plan. So, it was just adopted in 2003, is that right?
Yes.
And that talks, well, I'll let you
The current EOP is basically a roles and responsibilities document for how the county will respond to any disaster. It is all hazards, so it's not just wildfire, just flood. We have identified 6 departments that 6 county departments that we know will have a role in just about any response. It does not include the sheriff's office because they have their own legal and statutory requirements to do things. That putting them in our plan would be kind of redundant, but it outlines things for public works, the health department, communications, emergency management, and so forth for how we are going to respond to any incident that occurs in the county.
Thanks, thank you. So this has a lot of information on those 2 plans, how they relate to each other, and then we talk about fire protection. And we kind of talked a bit earlier about there are fire districts in the county. They cover a small area. Ideally, people can subscribe to those and be within the response the response area for those districts. If not, then they pay for service outside of that. So, we're always encouraging the plan, always encourages formation of new fire districts, and you'll see that in the goals and policies. Because it's, and we do talk a bit, and Neil's here. So Jay Smith wasn't available tonight, our forest restoration director. But it looks like the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management also has responsibility for fires on state trust land, and then obviously Forest Service on Forest Service land, Park Service on Park Service land. So there are different agencies that have their levels of responsibility. Do you want to elaborate at all when you're on that? Or?
I threw a little thing in the comments earlier today, just gonna
Okay.
recognizing how EFFN does have that private land structured fire response or wildland fire response on private land authority outside of any incorporated area of a district or fire department. They, like I said, it's a challenge for them in the county besides of Coconino County. And I mean,
Yeah.
most of their district based out of Flagstaff is the entire county. So that's where they rely heavily on partners.
Yeah.
And then I just threw one other comment in there. I don't know if it's relevant to point out, but Flag Fire does have hazardous material staff for every shift. We make sure we stagger them. So there's always a trained 3-person group for hazmat. They have a special ops truck. And so if there was a call, I think it's not like we wouldn't leave the city. It's one of those things where I think we cover a fairly large area for any sort of hazardous material response.
So yeah, on that note, then we've got some updates, some additional information to update in this chapter from Neil and Chris. So I just wanted to mention that, and we'll show it to you in track changes once we get there. But so we talk about fire protection in general, and then we talk specifically about wildland fire and the wildland urban interface, or the WUI, if you will. And there's a lot that can happen in terms of, I would just say strategies within the wildland urban interface. And, you know, right now, the county does not have let's say a WUI code, a specific code related to how property goes out within that wildland urban interface. We can speak more to this when we look at the goals and policies. It's a suggestion in here because the fire chiefs have indicated to us that it would help them. You know, it would have to be very specific to the county. It would be a big lift for the county, and honestly, county management's going to need to, you know, give us a reality check on resources that would pertain to basically. So, but I'll just give an example and then correct me if any mistakes I made. So, for instance, you know, in my little 6,000 square foot lot up in Flagstaff, trying to keep 5 feet of brush away from my house, trying to keep pine needles cleaned up, keep the limbs off of my roof. That's part of a WUI code. Is that correct?
So when we say WUI code, there's an official like International Wildland Urban Interface Code from the International Code Council. City adopted the 06 code in 08. And we're going through an update, and the WUI code itself is like 90% building materials and like 10% vegetation. That 10% vegetation is wonderfully vague, to the point where it just says like pine needles, you know, it should be maintained. And it's like, but it doesn't say like how deep should we let the pine needles be. So it's what we really find some strength in is updating a couple different codes we're going through right now within the city. But the WUI code is a great start because that basically checks the box for home hardening of all new construction. It doesn't deal with the vegetation in a super strong way, but you can adopt amendments within that WUI code to clarify things like, you know, a 0 to 5 fuel-free zone, which we're, like I said, in the city right now, we're struggling. We're going through some challenges with our own resource protection standards and our own landscaping codes that are telling developers to do things that a year after that place is built, we'll go do a fire inspection and say, why do you have all this vegetation here? It's like, well, your landscaping code told me to put it here. So we're trying to get all these things in alignment. And I think it's not just fire response and you know, thinking about firefighters responding to a wildfire, the insurance crisis that's looming over everything we're dealing with. There's things that, you know, when we see the best available science of the structures that are being protected and saved in these catastrophic fires. The insurance companies are looking at that exact same information. So it's not like we're letting the insurance companies dictate terms of what our community should look like, but the information's out there. And things like reducing flammable materials within 5 feet of your home is one of the biggest factors in the homes that are not burning down in urban conflagrations. So those sort of things are emerging, and we're all in the boat together. So if denser areas have these codes and the rural areas around it don't, the insurance companies kind of lean towards the lowest common denominator of decision making, and it's all of us. So it's going to be a challenge. So I did add one little comment in here about, like, if you want to beef up any of that language, I'm happy to work with you guys, because it's kind of like these little breadcrumb trails keep building towards how can we work with county residents on explaining, this isn't meant to be a hardship. This is meant to be a public safety and a long-term livability strategy, because if we actually have massive amounts of people that can't get insurance and can't get mortgages, then home values drop, tax revenues drop. We could actually lose a fire station because of wildfires.
And we have to be informed. So, yeah, this is a conversation that, there's a lot of detail in here. I do want to point out just one sentence, and it is right here, 93% of Coconino County properties are at risk of wildfire in the next year. So, this is a real thing. Adopting a wildland urban interface code that was specific to the county, customized for the county. Be really clear that that's what it would have to be, because the county is so varied. We've got so much different geography, topography, vegetation. It's going to be, it would have to be very customized. And, there's a suggestion here that possibly there could be, if there's grant funding available, that would help the county.
Just say that first part again for me, please. On the custom, you said it needs to be customized.
So what,
Because the council did.
there is a international wildland urban interface code that would not fit Coconino.
You just did.
And then there's different tiers of that. And so it's like, if you're in a super high risk area, we might recommend, tier 1 construction versus lower risk tier 2. So a house, in the middle of a pine forest, maybe has a much more robust construction materials plan than one in, the middle of a grassland, something like that. So there's a lot of different ways you could adopt. Even the city, when they adopted that code, half of the codes in there have a little note on there that we've amended that code with local recommendations. So there's definitely a way that, these can be built on a neighborhood basis almost.
So this is, you'll see, and when we get to the goals and policies, it was an idea for an implementation strategy. Given funding, given support for something like that.
And it directly applies to new construction, unless you include some sort of retroactive detail. I mean, that's why if you think about like the new stuff in Flagstaff over the last decade or so compared to like Coconino Estates or University Heights, and just difference in visual of those different neighborhoods.
So much.
I don't know if it would be worth putting in here if you're looking for funding avenues for those. The last 3 weeks in DC side, there is a grant program for FEMA, building resilient infrastructure in communities. That is almost a guaranteed funding for hiring a contractor to update codes and zoning requirements and things like that. They're almost looking to, can't give that money away for those kinds of projects.
Oh, okay.
If there's any sure thing out of DC and FEMA, the other up word, it would be that. That it's definitely something the county could consider to hire a contractor to bring.
We've been talking to Jay about that stuff for a while on kind of a combo city county effort around the brick rate.
Okay, so that could possibly be something woven into an implementation idea. All right. So
Brick is who's funding the hazard mitigation plan up there.
oh, okay.
So we've got good relationships with the state for those.
Okay. So we'll note that for the advisory group to think about adding into your goals and policies. And so we then have a section on flood control specifically. And this was contributed by Christina Mariani, this year, Director of Flood Control, and, as you know, the flood control district covers the entire county. So, that's something that has had a lot of focus. There have been some meetings for flood control based on, as we all know, for wildland fires, and focus is, they definitely have a focus on, tying that into forest restoration efforts to try and minimize flooding risk. And then the last section we talk about is law enforcement in particular, and Sheriff's Office did have an opportunity to contribute to this and to give us just basic information about what it is that their responsibilities are. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Lieutenant Tom Volker from the Sheriff's Office Detention Division.
Thanks for coming. Have a nice. Thanks. Would you, I don't know if you, Tom, you had a chance to.
Yeah, I read through it and it's a really good overview for this purpose.
Did you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time, but I can want to take it back to review from a higher level.
Okay, yeah, the sheriff has a thing. Glad you're here in case any questions come up. Thank you. And then we just end this section with the map again, and then we go into the goals and policies. So I think that's all I was going to overview. I'll turn it back to you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Well, already, so you guys know the drill here. We'll just go around and we're not going to be focused on goals right now. We're just going to talk about what was just covered. Any larger generalized context or comments that you may have.
I'm sorry if I could interrupt again. I did want to introduce one more staff member. Chris, did you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Newell. I'm with the Coconino County Health and Human Services Department.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah,
I worked on the comprehensive plan in 2020.
Yeah,
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
Or 2024, whatever, or 2020.
It was
2002.
2002, whenever, yeah.
And so we did talk about the health improvement plan and then the chip. So good questions about that. Yeah.
How about if we start with Rose? And ask Rose if she has any comments or questions regarding the presentation that we just had.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm fine. I don't have any comments, and I think I think there's a lot of work that has been put into these this chapter from the experts, and I'm really happy that there's a lot that's covered. I especially want to thank our Neil for participating and just being here for just a lot of different things that are that are involving all of Coconino County, not just the city. So I appreciate the help there. And then everyone else who participated in this. So I don't have any comments.
Super, okay. As you know, Rose, now after we go around the table here, we'll get back to the goals. And if you have some questions or concerns there or input, we'll get back to you on the goal side, okay?
Okay.
Brittany?
She's got Jeannie. Jeannie Rose online.
Okay, Jeannie?
Yeah, it's her.
Okay.
I didn't see any, I don't have any comments or questions having followed along either. So thank you.
Brandon?
I just have a question. I didn't really say anything about potential terrorism emergency response kind of deal. And then the natural hazards like our water aquifer, if that gets poisoned or whatever happens with our water aquifer, potentials of that.
So in the hazard mitigation plan is per FEMA guidance, it is for natural hazards only.
Okay.
That said, if you take a look online at the current plan we do call out a couple of different aircraft accident, a couple of man-made things at the request of those communities, for Tucson. That is a big concern for them. So we went ahead and noted that with the caveat that, yes, we understand this is not typically what FEMA is looking for, but we put that in. So, a lot of times the how do you mitigate terrorism? Is the question. So for that plan, we know we can mitigate wildfire with defensible space. There's certain actions, but a lot of man-made things, very hard to mitigate. So those typically don't go into the mitigation plans. However, the county's emergency operations plan, being all hazard, applies to incidents that are natural or human caused, whether it be intentional or otherwise.
So there's like a sense of response plan for response. It's the, if it happens, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's the county's emergency operations plan. That's that roles and responsibilities document where, it outlines what everyone will do. Emergency management, we're going to operate the county's emergency operations center. We've got the health department. They come in and operate the community assistance center. Probably the most common example that you see for those, if you're familiar with Route 91 Harvest concert shooting festival, several years ago in Vegas. Everybody leaves their stuff behind. So how does that person get their wallet and their car keys, their bus ticket back home? We open up a community assistance center that helps with the human side of that through HHS. So everybody kind of has a role and different responsibility for that. Terrorism stuff gets very busy very quickly. That will immediately almost surpass the state level support, go straight to the federal government. The feds will come in and take over criminal investigation. We will still have a pretty significant role in that, then the county becomes a federal criminal investigation. Your other question for aquifers. For aquifers, that is normal. It's typically not something that's in the mitigation plan. It could be. It just hasn't been I don't want to say it hasn't been a concern, but it hasn't elevated to this plan yet. That's why we have the public comment piece of our plan. And I will say, thankfully, FEMA's push now in their guidance relies heavily on the public comment phase for rolling out a hazard mitigation plan. So, the planning team, which we made up from folks from all of our jurisdictions, a lot of departments in those jurisdictions, will come in and host community meetings. We're actually writing the contract for the vendor now, and that's going to be some of the requirements. They will do in-person meetings in every community from Fredonia to Forest Lakes, so we can make sure we're capturing the needs and visions of the entire area.
Well, definitely let me know if you want to come back.
We will.
What is the schedule for that?
The current plan expires in July of 26, and it usually takes 16 to 18 months to update one. So we're kind of running right now. The board, we just awarded the bid, so now we're in the contract stuff to hopefully get that on the board agenda very soon, probably by the first week of March, to approve the contract and actually start working on it. So calendar year 25 and into the spring is what we're looking for the update.
So can we add an aquifer to this?
Can you add what?
Can we add it in there? I don't know. I think our water aquifer, specifically, in Valley, we rely on our water aquifer. Yes, we can rain harvest, but if something happens to our water aquifer, what are we gonna do? So I want to know what we're gonna do. I hope nothing happens, but I like.
So there is that section on water quality and water chapter that I think talks a little bit about prevention, but
yeah,
that may not be enough for your to keep us.
Well, I'm thinking about response. If it gets to that, what are we doing?
So Miranda, what do you see happening? At Woodlands?
Well, I've heard, the potential of arsenic and with the potential uranium mines. I guess I want to know the facts of it all, the potential risk of it all. I rely on that water, so I just want to know if it's safe and what's the risk of all the different things.
So do the people that own the well, do they know you're concerned about them? Or the wells?
I dropped it, but not necessarily. This is just something I kind of I've been thinking on. I've been wondering if there's a program to help test our water. I haven't been able to really find current data of our water being tested every month. So it'd be nice to have that more accessible, or I'll go test the water myself every month and put it out there for everybody.
Right, just calling it, it's all Collins wells that we're referring to.
Mhm.
They have a certificate for public water source, so those tests would be at, there should be a DWR and an ADQ for all the wells. And they do multi testing. Sorry.
Remind everyone to speak up, please.
Miranda, do you know if, you know the depth of that well there, Valley?
About 3,000 feet.
3,000?
Mhm.
So that is not a perched aquifer, that is part of the Coconino aquifer?
The red ball.
Red.
Ball. The one that goes to Havasupai Falls.
Same one that Williams is on.
Mhm.
They have
Theirs
theirs
goes
going
south.
Yeah,
So
we have to pull up, we have the map, but I don't have it up here.
Very specific sheet.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I know one of the first things that comes to mind when you say water and I think of valley is looking at the county parcel viewer and what if half of those parcels were trying to get water, you know, because there's thousands of them.
Mhm.
And so not just quantity or quality, but almost quantity. I mean, what's gonna happen up there with water in the long run?
So I'll remind everybody that in the water resources chapter, there are projections of water use. Kind of based on state demographic population growth. So we tied that together and, looked at, the amount of water that would be coming out of the different sources. So we've got that information, but tell us what you'd like to do here.
No, as long as it's addressed in there, I just really think the water aquifer, specifically in valleys, what I'm speaking up about, because it's important for especially valleys. And I'm Williams, they rely on their water aquifer. Flagstaff, we all do. We all rely on well water. Luckily, Flagstaff's not as deep, but valley is 3,000 feet. If those wells go, like, how are we going to sustain out there? We're going to have to go back to Belmont and Williams. Like, in the 1994 was the first well in Valley. So that's the
There's been a lot of discussion kind of in that space now between fire, emergency management and water post LA. We've had a lot of requests of like, what's the status of our hydrant system in Flagstaff? And kind of that, what's the robustness of the supply we could provide in some catastrophic scenario. So, I don't remember all the details of your water section, but there kind of is a little more of a spotlight these days on that tie between emergency response and water system capacity.
Yeah, and that's a good question, where a community like Valley, where there's a well, there are no hydrants.
Yeah.
That's a whole different approach to fighting fires, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how that, maybe we talk about it in our mitigation plans, or,
You don't have to go too far outside of Flagstaff to do that hydrants.
yeah,
And then we start having to, fire department doesn't have to, they've got to start shuttling and basically ferrying water back. So County Public Works has helped with that with their water trucks before. You don't have to go far from downtown.
We had a fire out at Velvet, off of Velvet Valley Lane, Thursday. Burned the house down. Guy barely made it out. He was in the house taking a nap with his dogs and he got out, dogs got out. But there were 4 fire tenders that showed up to that fire because there were no hydrants out there. But they got it out and the wind was blowing 9-0 that day. We were all kind of nervous. It was right behind Kim Howell's house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The dispatch systems, if there's a structure fire in an area, according to the computer automated dispatch that doesn't have hydrants, they automatically dispatch, I think, the 2 nearest available water tankers.
So Miranda, who grazes around Valley? Who, is it Brooks? Who is it?
Brooks, McNally's, all McNally's.
Okay, is there any, state land in there or is it all private?
Oh, there's a lot of, yeah, remember, look at our.
I think you need to, this will make my sister happy. You need to graze that to nothing. Well, okay, so if you get, it is, does he keep it grazed down?
Well, he's now not grazing in like the subdivision area now because of the growth there. And so I've noticed he's just like South Rim Ranch. He's not in that Grand Canyon subdivision anymore. So
I think y'all need to figure out. how
well,
to keep
people
it
are
down.
like, I'll rent my goat. There's like literally, yeah. So
Well-
there's a creative approach to it. It's just a matter of where Valley at is now. We need to meet together and organize.
You need to pay him to graze it down.
Yeah.
Don't let him do it. You pay him to graze it. I mean, we've got to do this all over this county.
That's it.
So
Marry it all.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, I just drove from Flagstaff to Mormon Lake, which I don't go over the mountain to come in here because the road is so bad. My goodness, by the airport, there's stuff standing like this. They don't get fired there, even they bunch of trees down, but and on down to where Roger Cartman was. They need to graze it. This is stupid not to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
Right in the city.
short sighted.
Right in the city limits.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. All those people in that Skunk Hollow, what we call Skunk Hollow, they're gonna be going like that.
So am I hearing, just to kind of bring it back, am I hearing then that grazing should be part of our hazard mitigation plan? You know, that might be sound funny, but you know, I just, you know, these are,
I think it's basically a fuel mitigation strategy.
yeah. So, okay, and I do.
Yeah, but-
Those cows love to eat your pets, your hoses, they love to eat anything.
You gotta find a new breed of cow that'll eat Congress behind
Okay, so, are we on the backside of that visit?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, good deal. All right, how about you, Mike?
I got, when I first read that section, I liked it, first impression. Then I read, zoning commissioner Sad Best, letter, and I said, man, we missed a big part. And, he brought up about the hospital issues going forward. And, I was fortunate to be only non-board member years ago on strategic plan. I was really frustrated with the hospital at that time. One is the plan, they gotta really think it out, if this and that, and get the one. On the hospital location here, they just have a list of the hospital. Flag Medical Center is a level 1 trauma center. Guys, that means a lot. Okay. Then you say, how do you keep that going? You have to have money. And the money has to come in from a big area. Flag's too small. So we're getting from a big area. Now, you got to preserve your area. One, you got to maintain your facilities to stay at that level of service. The hospital, the way it was built, which is great, we all love it. I live close to it. I like it. I want to go. It's convenient for me when they say you're not going to live 2 minutes to get there in 1.5 minutes. Very convenient. I loved it. Got great care. They babysat me until I was able to go on the own machines. But the point is, it's in the wrong spot. And the staff did a good job presenting that. It is a massive employer. And we talk about employment, we talk about jobs, we talk about all this stuff. In this area, it needs to be addressed. Some not very strong statement that this hospital needs to be preserved, because the narrative on the voting, or we voted down the relocation or referendum on the zoning or a long-term, I call it, year site for the hospital. You don't need to be an expert. We got it in our residential area, backed up against the mountain, versus putting it out where the freeways cross.
That's one. Where do the trauma centers calls come from? As they come from the freeway, the accidents. What you're seeing is also you need to provide the proper doctors to work at the place. That means you got to focus on your specialists and subspecialists. There is a problem. Bill and I have a buddy who have taught me 40 years, a neurosurgeon. And he's here because he loves it. He is here because his buddies are here. You chum around, that's why he's here. Other neurosurgeons have come here to do residency because he's so well known, but they leave. And I'm not saying they're money grubbers. That's not fair. They come out, they got $500,000 worth of debt in school. They need to figure out how to pay it back. And so they pick a place that says, I will pay you and guarantee this amount to get rid of your loans in the next 10 years. So we don't get them. We don't get them up here in Flagstaff. Again, back to preserve the hospital. The facilities that they have and set are very well there. We're going out to have the people vote. You know, I see 7% are concerned about the hospital care. The only time you're concerned about is if you need it. And I would say that the hospital is a massive employer. The number of locals they hire to deal with the facility and manage it, those are strangers. They come in here, they're good people. They come in and they work up to 6 months for the hospital under a contract. And then they go somewhere else. But the same thing with nurses. They need to have more synergies here. Now, when I first was on that committee, so it's been a while ago now, probably 7, 8, 10 years ago. The area that we're talking about in that, it went up into Utah. A trauma call, boom, they're coming to Flagstaff. We're dispatching, boom, they're coming to Flagstaff, boom, this is where it goes. I see in Laura's nodding head, that's exactly right. Trauma's up in the parks. Where'd they send them? They're all coming to Flagstaff. And the reason I came to Flagstaff is Flagstaff, one, had a facility they could deal with it. They had the ORs, emergency ORs to deal with stuff. They also had on call all these specialists and subspecialists to do with the trauma. That is a harder and harder thing for them to fulfill. Okay. Business department just went through emergency gallbladder collapse. What's going on? We're getting older, and boom, they went, ready. He goes in. He said, "I got great care, great care." He's not faulting anything. The doctor was from Indian Hospital in Phoenix, who came up under contract to help out up here because they didn't have anything to fill in the spot. Okay, she did a great job, very happy. Nothing, but the point is, it is diminishing, and that's becoming a bigger problem. I think we need a very, very strong statement about this, the hospital, and the importance of it. And I appreciate people voting on stuff. That's our democratic way. But a lot of them just do it because, like me, I want to see the hospital right there next. And these guys are against your guys that we grew up with.
Yeah.
And I respect them. But they had no idea what the issue of the hospital just did a damn poor job explaining the issues.
Well, I have a question. Can I have your
Yes, I'm done.
Well, super, because that was true. Hey, so did you have a suggestion for what needed to be changed or added here?
No, I actually read Sat's letter last. I don't know when that came in. It read last. I liked it at the beginning. And then we read Sat's letter. I said, man, he's right. He's hitting right in the head. That's the issue here. Now, all the stuff is great in here, but somehow, because obviously it didn't get to the city, it didn't get to the voters, and the city's within the county. And this is also part of the big picture. And I know it extends, or it did extend up into Utah, and it went a long ways. I will tell you now, they won't send them here. And I'm just reading the tea leaves because predictability. If you don't have these people predictable within a rock throw, meaning they're on call, they come showing up. I think that's the issue. I think we got to say something about this. And I like what Sat had to say personally. He said, he hit right on the head. I'd grab his lever and write it in.
Okay, so you have some information from the visits that you had after Sat sent out this letter. How about you bring that on?
Thank you. So we did have our Health and Human Services staff look at this, look at the letter, specifically in regard to the suggestion for a new healthcare commission, I believe, is what the term was. And Chris can speak to this more, fluently than I can, but my understanding is that Health and Human Service already has a lot of this coordination going on, that addresses a lot of what Scott brought up. So did you want to elaborate at all, Chris, and explain that?
Just to say that the County Health and Human Services Department works really closely with a whole wide variety of providers, public and private, within the county. We also work really closely within this community and the county, among other counties, coordinating with other health departments and other providers to kind of coordinate efforts and care in it and anticipate what future needs may be. And at the county and the health department, we definitely see that shortage of providers. It's really extreme. And even worse when you get outside of the Flagstaff, greater Flagstaff, some of these remote communities. And dental care as well is we're really suffering from adult dental care. There's only one adult dental care provider for access in Coconino County, and they're not accepting patients.
Well, I don't mean to just debate this back and forth, but I'm talking third-party providers, people that pay insurance, and they will pay with the hospital bills. That's what keeps the hospital going. I'm not talking about indigent care not being important. If you don't have those with the money paying for it, you're never going to have the indigent care. We'll hope for it. We're hoping somebody just throws a bucket of money at us. But you got to make sure that big economic engine is there. And the third-party reimbursements that go to these hospitals, that's what really keeps them going. And we're in the middle of just vast open space up here. If we lose this hospital and that level 1 trauma care, that drops. The reimbursement of the hospital is going to crash. Now, the hospital doesn't come out and say that. Of course, they can say we're well run, we're doing a great job and all that. But I think there's others outside need to start taking leadership. One of the guys protesting that I've known most of my life. And I sat down and said, when you had your hip replaced, you've been flying your whole life. You went down to Phoenix and they replaced your hip because nobody could do it up here.
Was anybody, was there a movement to say we don't want a hospital, or was it just?
No, they just turned out saying, we don't want the hospital there.
Right,
And
okay,
there's some
so
other-
those are two really kind of different.
There is.
I don't
there
think
is.
anyone's arguing that there shouldn't.
No. Everybody wants the hospital. We all want stuff. But you have to look at how do they pay for everything. And that is the issue. I just see that level 1's care. We're not going to lose it. We're not going to lose it because we're so good. Boy, I think something in there. But my personal opinion is they don't have the zoning for the city. How do you deal with a big project like this? Do you let yourself go through, spend millions of dollars in citing it, coming up with this and everything else, and then turn around and say, voters, we voted down? You better come up with a different plan. That's what I'm saying. If the county can sit and say something, you can say in 2 or 3 lines, he just threw out a suggestion in here. And I said, a suggestion is better than nothing. But he obviously thought this out. And I was embarrassed when I read everything. I just bobbed my head, ignorance of bliss, everything's wonderful. And then you think about it, it's one of the largest employers in northern Arizona. It brings in business from everywhere. And the question is it still bringing business in? I think these other hospitals are going to start getting because of aircraft. Now they just start popping in different locations because this Flagstaff equipped. And somebody says, no, we don't have any equipment. Okay, then they just go somewhere else. Or they go somewhere else first because 2 months ago they called Flag and didn't have anything.
Yeah, just on that, I don't know the status of, what the hospital is doing in terms of another relocation idea. So it could be in the works. We just don't know about that. We're not, it's a different, it's the city of Flagstaff. So, I guess we should decide on, what can the comprehensive plan actually say to support overall needing good health care for the whole county. But then also in specific, supporting a level 1 trauma center, wherever that may be, and not give we're not going to say where that should be. We don't know. That's a complete hypothetical. Is that what I'm hearing?
Did you have something you wanted to say? I just don't want to go out of turn, but I do want, if we're gonna visit about this topic and not run around the table and have everybody have their piece on it, then I want to jump in.
You go ahead and jump in, I'll save for later.
Okay, well, because I think, clearly what Mike is suggesting, there isn't anybody here in this room with disagree with Scott to say. And anyhow, so if it's okay to be the chairman one time here with you guys, I would like to suggest that maybe what I got from reading Seth's letter is that what he was asking for and suggesting wasn't policy. I think he was probably assuming and given that that was the case. What he was suggesting is the communication on a regional scale as far as what is needed for Coconino County, and not just leaving it up to the hands of like the city of Flagstaff to determine what happens with the fate, really of the region. And that by him having kind of this commission framework, which, look, you guys already did, right? You don't probably need another commission, right? At the same time, he's looking for that communication kind of to build rapport between really the broader picture and really all of what you just said. And how does that fit at a larger scale and not just be left at the hands of the whim of the city of Flagstaff residents decide what happens? That's what I got from it. Now, clearly I can have misled myself too. So, or misled in. So anyway, I don't want to take that away. That's my little piece. All right, Jim?
Well, when we voted on that hospital, the new location, I think that some folks, me included, felt like that location that they picked was not a very good. It had the same problems as the other location for the hospital up here on Mount Hill. That it was out of the way, that it was pretty far removed from I-40 and pretty close to I-17, but difficult to access from that airport interchange to that location where they wanted the new hospital. That being said, maybe we should look for a different location that is more centralized. I heard you mention that part with the idea that it was hard to get to, but I started thinking about how do the trauma people get, the victims get to the hospital, and I realized a lot of them get there by air. Those helicopters are coming and going all the time. So that kind of lessens the problem there a little bit for location.
I want to ask you, do you have a suggestion for how this section needs to be adjusted? From this conversation, what is it that we're suggesting through the conversation needs to be either changed or added or deleted to what we've been presented? Really, that's our job, is to do that. So
I do not. I was just commenting on the comment.
Okay, yeah, right. Well, I get it. They're good. I mean, Mike, did you have actually have something you wanted to add or like take out or modify? So, and again, I'm going to be just maybe just suggest one again. If we're looking at SAT's input, I truly do believe it had to do with communication on a regional, larger scale about what seems to fit for the broader picture, not just the city of Flagstaff.
I agree with that.
So that would be, if you're looking for something additional here or something.
Exactly. Look at Valley's in the middle.
So with this conversation we're having, did you have some input about maybe a suggestion if you think there needs to be something here?
I think what I'm hearing is that it would enhance this section to add a couple sentences that the community would like to continue to support communication about health, probably going through what Health and Human Services is already doing to continue to support that ongoing coordination. And in addition, that supports continuing the care, rather than the care provided by a level 1 trauma center somewhere in the county, because the county needs that type of service, and it's important countywide, not just for the city. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. I didn't say it quite correctly or reimbursement. That does that.
It does. I think that what I would maybe ask everybody to consider, listening to you is that maybe what Seth and Jim and Mike and others are feeling is that to continue the support hasn't really paid off so far. In the sense that they feel like maybe there was this, potential threat as far as what might happen in hospice. Is there a way to use the word different than support that maybe enhances it or maybe encourages it to be a little bit more proactive in its participation in those conversations?
For the candidate participation, right, for the candidate participate, is that true?
Well, I think that's really what everybody's trying to get to.
Yeah. So the county acknowledges how crucial this level 1 trauma center and regionally crucial health center, hospital has been to our health and to our economy and everything else. And therefore the county will be proactive about, continuing the coordination, exploring additional ways of being integrated with decision-making.
Yeah, I'm looking somewhere on, I wrote down SUCOF, page 2, underneath accessibility to healthcare and public services for improved quality of life. And that's why I kind of plug in there about, here's my little notes I put, or there's a healthcare supporting our hospital and its trauma and healthcare emergency rooms, recruitment of specialists and subspecialists are needed. And primary care providers, I see that being more recent. This is me, I'm just a lawyer. I don't pay attention to much. But when you start seeing people saying they can't get in to get their healthcare services, it takes them forever to get an MRI. I got mine done in a day. Why do people wait a month? Do they not communicate right? Or they say, I gotta get my health insurance first, so I'll just pay for it. There's something wrong. That's what I look at. There's something there's a disconnect. Words to that effect and just a clear statement on it. I'll move on with the healthcare stuff because what's going on better. Would you say that one more time to some formally? I would say that Northern Arizona healthcare is critical to this area and it's the support of it and also maintain the trauma 1 healthcare, trauma 1 emergency facility. Probably the order of the words in the wrong place. With their emergency rooms, and also the recruitment of specialists and subspecialists. Now, I just threw in it, only that was always the issue. Now I'm saying even primary care providers. And I'm looking at those being more locals. And I go back years ago, I barked at a chairman because they weren't hiring these nurses. And one was 5th generation up here in Flagstaff, never got an interview. Graduate from NAU. I barked at him and said, what the hell, you guys hired the HR? You bring everybody out of Minnesota and Nebraska. What the hell's with the local girls? And I found out there are 2 3rd generation that are here. They're not going to leave. This is their home. At least give them an interview. They did. And they hired it. The point is, they're still there. That's why we've got those stuff that come mind and move off the hospital stuff because I think is it okay that what Laura had contributed to your discussion be also 100%. 100%.
Billy, can I?
You bet.
And that really the role of Health and Human Services is the overall public health at a much broader level and not so much on the individual healthcare provider. Yeah. So what the county can do at that level is more limited, but I hear what you're saying about facilitating communication and working with partners and being a voice for finding solutions for the healthcare crisis that we're in of not having enough. So we're definitely collected.
And that's got, in the last 10 years, got a lot worse. Did you want to follow up on that with the healthcare?
Yeah, just on the healthcare, I think one of the things that came to mind is housing. Again, when we transporting these individuals from across this region, we're thankful that the Taylor House is there to subsidize, if you will, couple nights stay. But again, travel, someplace to stay, lodging. And I'm speaking right now because my daughter just got a job at the Taylor House. She's got her degree in social work. And I didn't know all these years that there's actually a little kitchenette in that facility that the patients and can cook. And so things like that that come to mind, and again, how with this level one trauma center in relation to getting patients from across this region, having them a place to stay while they're going through treatments and so forth. And what happens if your MRI goes wrong and then you need to stay in and out of town? And, you know, and then this, just, I mean, she's telling me there's check-ins happening at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because of circumstances changing. And so those kinds of things that, you know, it brings to light that we're, again, the facility we have is great, and the housing component of it, the price of hotels, what have you. But I think looking into bigger housing capacities within that campus as well as the development was always the other push. But then, I mean, then my next question kind of came to mind was like, what jurisdiction then does the county have in relation to the operational plan of a facility, FMC, North Country, NACA, Sacred Peaks? You have all kinds of operational accreditations going on in those facilities. You have 638s, you have FQHCs, community health centers, privates, all mixed into that. And so my question to the county is what influence can you have on the actual development of operations in those kinds of scenarios? I don't know that Sacred Peaks approached you guys to the city when they were going to set up Sacred Peaks over there under the 638 contract.
Yeah.
And when you look at the map, under Indian Health Service, Tuba City does have service rights within Tuba City.
And I'm not familiar with that particular scenario.
So those are, I mean, again, what influence does the county have to regulate the 638 that comes in under IHS? And is something like this actually going to be beneficial in the development of the operations of facilities in relation to the point that's brought out here is the communication? The 638 know what NACA, the Urban Indian Health, is doing versus FMC versus private practice versus community health center in North Country. You know, that would be the part that comes out and says, yes, let's bring all these leadership positions together and have a streamline of communication and future development and or needs of the region that's here.
I can't say that the Health and Human Services doesn't have regulatory authority over facilities.
Yeah, I might suggest that again, just to kind of go back to, I really feel that this was what Sat's point was. Is exactly that, when he referred to a commission. And whether or not the county potentially could either add that commission to the potential framework of the county or you know, at least participate in something similar to it. That's what I kind of felt like.
Yeah.
That's what it.
It sounds like, Chris, maybe we need to go back and talk to Michelle a little bit more about, this idea, and then we somehow, yeah, we could look at maybe what that might look like in this plan.
So we on the backside of that conversation?
So sorry. You're suggesting that we, open a commission to look into this in the future? Obviously, this hospital problems aren't going to go away. We're going to have something in the future at some point. Is that what you're suggesting?
I think that really I didn't have a framework to suggest more than just trying to understand what, I think we all know what if you want to call it a problem or the potential of this for this conversation. But we're referring back to what Sat had presented was a commission, really is what he had presented in this letter, an idea of a commission. And that may be something going through this conversation that indeed needs to happen. I just don't know where that can happen with the county. That's with us or if it's somewhere else. I don't know.
or if it lies with the county, if there's a. Yeah, I think there's some interesting things to think about.
Well, will you be getting back to us?
We'll need to get back to you on how that could be woven in, and it could be an implementation idea, it could be some additional, few sentences added in here to kind of tie that together in terms of the importance of the hospital to the county as a whole and recognizing, because we recognize that there are basically places that don't have access to healthcare at all in the county. That came up. So, this is something that this comprehensive plan is not going to solve, but it could maybe point to other plans, give information to other plans that could then work on the issue. That's not the focus of the comprehensive plan, but because we are talking about public health, it is a community service. There are plans that are created every 5 to 3 years, and this could be an issue that we bring up through that channel. So we'll have to get back to you, depending on how the rest of the conversation goes and when you want to see something back. Yes.
I just want to make sure that you use Northern Arizona Healthcare. I mean, don't just talk about the hospital, talk about the real thing, and that it's a private hospital, no big deal, but we've got Coconino County in here, Coconino Community College, and the page, let's name it. Use the name of it. Don't just walk around it. This county, the county said comprehensive plan is very supportive of this facility and but use the name of it. Don't just walk around it. I mean, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I don't know either. We're gonna have to pull that apart as far as, wanting an excellent trauma center, period, versus naming a particular facility. We'll have to think about that.
If you have other comments.
Got just, there's one I like to add here. It's not a big deal, but it's on page 7. We have Coconino Community College recognize the education and stuff. And so we have a campus here in Flagstaff. I don't run the college, but I have seen people that go to college. I've seen people go to college that otherwise would not have had further education. And I see them today. One dealt with the effects of brain stents, the effect of stents in a brain. And now he's a research scientist at the Rio Board, and hired by a couple other companies out of here. But he washed dishes, went to Coconino Community College, and just chugged. Had development issues, and boom, did he flourish. The biggest obstacle was housing. Where'd I stay? And so we bring him in from a county. This guys, we're poor. We're not rich. Our outlying areas are poor. And you say, okay, they can't afford to go to NAU, or they can't get an NAU. Those are the ones we really kind of need to focus on. And we talked about Coconino Community College. I think it was a wonderful service. I think somehow making a comment to encourage, dormitories to subsidize the housing costs for people to come here. Aaron, you making that comment, just do it out here. Yeah. On the education side, I mean, you got to figure something out, and it's a good leapfrog to our largest employer, Northern Arizona University. They get through their college and they move in. That's what he did. Let's go get to college and moved into Northern Arizona University. And I was listening in to defending his thesis. And some professor asked him, said, I sure hope somebody has patented your thesis. And they said, yeah, the university has. And they said, because it's genius. Come on, this guy's washing dishes, couldn't get through a class, and he got one class at college. And you can see just the advancement that goes. Now he's paying a tremendous amount of income tax. They just go on and on. Bought a house down Flag. I mean, all those things. But these people want to stay in the Flagstaff area. They want to be in Coconino County. Again, we need to be sustainable, not have to export our kids. And I think the housing costs for people going to college will stay with mom and dad. Do this, do that. I just had one thought in there on the page. Yeah, we'll just say, this is what I kind of wrote in my margin. Melissa kind of leave it to better wordsmither. Coconino Community College dorms and the flag staff are otherwise costly, and we need to support subsidized housing for the university, for the college. Something like what NAU has, and then they can step into NAU, makes us again more sustainable. Words to that effect in there. I think it's all I have. Sorry, taking way too much time here. Thanks.
I think just kind of an FYI, when I was sitting on the foundation board with Coconino County, they were in the process of getting, I think it's KC to design some dormitories on page H, so.
Well, through one thing out. If you look at the big picture, big picture got it. The hospital's in the wrong spot. It's got all these rooms up there. You want me to tell you how many? I can tell you there's 261 with restrooms. I was up there for a long time in that on COVID. Had a lot of time to think. And when I was looking at it, I said, wait, this is a great spot for a dormitory. Big dormitories built in NAU because I went to NAU, sit on the committees, go through this. I was young, single, paid back as a lawyer. That's what I do. Sat down, came up with some of these norms about interaction between students. They're natural up here at the hospital. The only problem is it's not for a hospital. It was designed like a dorm. It would work well for dorms. It'd be great for the college to take it over. It'd be great for the university to figure out where they're going to build a medical center, where the hospital is going to relocate. 65% of all cell phones, 1 hour before being at Flagstaff Medical Center, were located south of I-40. So somebody says, well, why do you put that down? I'm sorry, guys, I'm a geek. Those are things that are important. Not just I talked with the janitor and he said this. It's important if you deal with the janitor stuff, but you gotta look at the big picture. Where are these people coming from? And the South is growing. I'm from the Verde, born and raised down. You know what I'm talking about. The Verde's going crazy. And somebody said, what's going to be? Well, they were Prescott now. Why are they going to Prescott? That makes it more difficult for the specialists and subspecialists up here.
You guys, I'm gonna do a time check, sorry,
I'm done.
it's
I'm done.
6:30.
I know.
I'm done.
Yeah, okay. Aaron, okay.
I don't have a question or comment on content, but I did go through as a proofreader, and I have a list of, like, some punctuation, a couple misreadings, miswords, I made a list of that type of thing.
Thank you, will you give that to me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Jim.
Well, I had some comments that I sent in to Melissa. You guys probably all read them.
Yes.
We need to go through 'em.
That's up to you. I've read it, was pretty much all I'm trying to, if you want to give a little summary, nutshell of your thoughts, then please do.
I can do that. Do we need to agree on them, to put them into the plan?
Agree to put your,
To include these?
well, let it rip right now, let's go.
Okay. Let's see, on page 6. Enrollment in Northern Arizona distance learning, if you read that part. I would like to add an explanation to the schooling population decline. I was in a school board meeting last night, and we talked about, or they talked about, I didn't say a word. They talked about the decline in enrollment in the school system. And this was, quite a bit after I wrote these comments, however, they are applicable to that. Overall student population has been in decline worldwide due to the infertility rates increasing, parental choices, and collapsing birth rates since the waning of the baby boomer generation began years ago. Birth rates are declining to dangerous levels. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has just reported that the total fertility rate, the number of children that women average over a lifetime, is now at an anemic 1.62, well below, and that's a typo there, should be well below 2.1 needed for replacement. This collapsing birth rate, this is worldwide, guys. This is not just here. This is a worldwide thing. This collapsing birth rate means that the numbers aren't just there, just aren't there. And schools will not have the populations to support schools at previous levels. That was my first comment on the student population. Down below, COVID-19 paragraph, The COVID-19 pandemic prompted many families to choose alternative education forms such as homeschooling or private schooling due to health concerns. And that's in that previous paragraph, due to health concerns. That all that is. But I'd like to add, the vast distances traveled, ranches, they have to homeschool on ranches. The vast distances traveled, or the realization that their students' needs were not being met. Some parents opting to have one parent stay home or work from home in order to homeschool their children. Those are my two comments on that. I don't know if you.
I'll answer your third one there, and then we'll ask anybody to participate in your conversation.
Okay. Page 20 at the bottom. This is the last thing. It states that all highway vehicles, blah, 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 providing adequate law enforcement services to meet the demands and expectations of an increasing population requires an ongoing assessment of needs and corresponding commitment of resources. After that, I would like to add, the Coconino County Sheriff's Department will need an increase of several deputies to handle the increased demand for services countywide. This has been a real problem. Ever since I was a county supervisor, it's been a real problem. That the deputies in this county are stretched so thin. It's like we were poor folks when I was growing up, and my mother, she had a rule about you had to spread the butter really thin. This is the butter being spread really thin, guys. So we were able to get some additional deputies for the sheriff's department when I was a county supervisor, and there were some added last year, but the problem was exploding, especially with like the OHV problem, which we've talked about. And we need law enforcement. So that's why I got that. That's it.
Do you have any comments regarding these thoughts? What?
Only thoughts.
Okay, that's it, thoughts? You good? Okay.
I support it as long as we can, if we need documentation on sources. We need what? Sources. Where we have the information to.
I think so. Jim, I'm gonna ask you something here because on this, everybody's agreeing with you on all these things. Is there a way, like, for example, the overall student population has been declining and all this other, is there a way to like change that around and actually put something into the plan that actually will be more proactive rather than just a narrative about what's kind of bad with this thing? Is there a way to switch that a little bit and just say, hey, you know what? We need to be thoughtful as we move forward that we will potentially be having declining populations of students. Therefore, the county needs to be planning for this in a particular way. So in other words, we're trying to put a 20 or whatever number of years out that says plan. What is it that we're trying to plan?
And if I could just add to that then, so it is, and I think that what we have in here, that there is recognized decline in enrollment. And that's going on, not just in Coconino County, but it's a much larger situation. The state demographer, we do have population projections, and that's what we're relying on to understand growth or decline in the county. And those are the official population projections that we look at. There's a slight increase in population projected to 2050 based on, they look at birth and death rates, they look at fertility rates, they look at in and out migration. So with all those factors combined, there is a slight increase projected to 2050. Those are the official projections. So, you know, that does play into school enrollment because that's not all school age people coming into the county.
Right.
But I, in reading these comments, and I totally appreciate where you're coming from. I agree with Aaron that, you know, we need specific citations and really just to present the facts. There's a decline in school enrollment. And the, you know, school district is aware of this. So we did make some, and it's not showing up very well here, but Jim, based on your comments, made a few edits just to kind of clarify some of the reasons for school enrollment decline. It has to do with the pandemic and also the Arizona's Empowerment Scholarship Account Program that basically gave the vouchers, and, provided funds for people to do homeschooling. That gives alternative forms of education. It provides more choices. So those are some of the reasons for the decline in public school enrollment. And then combining those two bullets, and then also recognizing, vast area, vast geography and transportation does lead families to consider homeschooling. And then economic pressures on housing. Homeschooling does provide, the ability for someone to stay home, that kind of thing. But, the point in here about the citation from the Center for Disease Control, I would just encourage us to be very factual in the fact that we're recognizing there's a population decline, there's a decline in enrollment. I don't know if this is, where this is coming from, and I would just, ask that, we really be thoughtful about how we're framing this. And that we just state a fact and not characterizing it in any way, whether it's good or bad, it's just a fact. So I would just encourage you to do that.
It's a good question. I look at the funding for schools. I know they get two sources, one per DU or per capita, and they also receive the taxation on property. Should we put something in there that references the property taxation? Because this is back when Forest Island was first built. Just one of those data points, they were 10% of the entire assessed valuation of the county.
If I could just interrupt here, because it does point here, this paragraph, private schools have seen a 72% increase in enrollment. So if you really look at the statistics, the public schools have seen a decline, private schools are seeing an increase, and then homeschooling is seeing an increase. So it's a really kind of complicated picture. I don't know that adding, much more information about taxation is going to really illustrate the issue with declining public school enrollment. Because there are many factors involved here. I'm not an expert on the matter.
But with Jim's comments here, I think you have concurrence and we'll agree with Jim. So
well, I need to know do you want this inserted exactly how it was written, or what do you want?
Well, Jim just said, look, he wrote that, but I think we're all in support of what you said. You want some leeway for them to craft it, or do you want us to say this?
If you want to really have a suggestion to make it a little more generalized. So maybe we should ask you to try to do that. That would probably work out.
Not be proactive about the planning.
Yeah, and being proactive about it also.
Jim's comment, I think overall students are declining.
Yeah.
Just about overall students are declining. There's less birth rates.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Worldwide.
And I would say that's probably some up there. They say private schools are taking public schools and all that. Overall, it's declining.
Yeah, I think it's, so you're suggesting that, to be proactive about specific.
I think hopefully somebody will help here. So being proactive in that, to being aware that there's potentially declining populations of students, that planning incorporates that awareness as you move forward. Low birth rates, that's it.
This information from the superintendent of schools. Yeah. So she would have the actual, we needed further follow-up with her.
She's aware of
statistics, but if we needed to clarify some of the statistics, we could follow up.
the statistics.
In terms of numbers of students.
Yes, yes.
This is right from her, yeah.
Right.
Jim, did you have other comments from this section?
No, those are the ones I had.
Melissa, are you good with
Yeah.
where we are in this conversation? Okay. Diana? Laura?
Okay, first of all, overall, this is a great chapter. It's really meaty. So,
much detail on topics that are near and dear to my heart, especially after working with risk assessment and emergency planning, emergency management issues on behalf of the university and so forth, and also being part of the CERT team with the sheriff's department. So really appreciated all the meat about all the county services in this chapter. Just a handful of specific comments. Page 6, no, yeah, on page 6 about education. The first paragraph about public schools refers to the county's 9 school districts, but the first bullet point down lower on that page refers to the county's 8 public school districts. So, oh, something else that's out of order. Page 4, Coconino County facilities. I thought it might be helpful for you to make some brief reference to just how many or how few physical facilities or spaces the county has scattered across the county. Because there's so much in this plan about the vast distances and the rural nature and blah, 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 blah. And there have been many references to how county residents want more ability to interact with the county and draw upon services and communicate, etc. And there's never going to be a day where every county resident is within 10 minutes of a county building or an office and county staff and so forth. So just some factual statements about, where are their county facilities, whether they're rented spaces or buildings you own and operate, and just reference that there really aren't very many places currently available for direct face-to-face interaction with county residents. So partnerships or some other creative approaches are going to be the solution to greater interactions and improved access to services. It isn't going to be the county building things all over the place. So then page 9 about the library, I thought, there's a mention of the bookmobile, or at least it's listed in the table or something, but you might add a sentence about how many people in the county actually get served by the bookmobile, or would depend on the bookmobile for access to the library. Another county service that's not mentioned here, and maybe you don't think this is a county service, but this is a group I interact with a lot, and I think of it as a community service, is elections and the recorder's office. And actually, the recorder's office offers a lot of services besides elections, but the one I was thinking about was elections. And elections is a great example of where they interact with all county, all citizen voting, citizen residents in the county in a lot of places, including these little tiny, chapter house locations for voting precincts and so forth. So elections is an example of how the county provides terrific access to services, including meeting people as close to where they live as is humanly possible, even though the county doesn't own a lot of buildings. Yeah. So I'm not sure if you even want to deal with that, but it seems to me to be an important example of a county service. And it also leads up to the importance of being creative and entering into partnerships with other entities to offer services. And I'm really glad we had that great discussion about healthcare and FMC and so forth. And I think that's it for the chapter.
I get to be all boring,
This has not been a boring discussion.
but she did get to be all boring. Okay, my comments, they don't appear to be in order. Cell service, we talked about the infrastructure and cell service. Really need to probably suggest that, in your planning for the future, during the Super Bowl game, T-Mobile announced they are now providing satellite service to anybody who has T-Mobile service. You can be anywhere on Earth and be able to get satellite cell service. I'm sure it's expensive. I'm sure it's still kind of in some sense of infancy. But again, we're making a plan for the future. You just think we're going to turn the wall. And first time in all these years, finally going to get the satellite on the cell tower stuff. But so that's one thing I wanted to mention that there, I don't know if anybody else saw that. But it really caught me when I saw that there was the satellite service that's now available for anybody. And so good for Neil on an interesting thing. One of the things that we all received that we got a hold in and around the forest is a non-renewal or a cancellation notice from your insurance company saying you're not covered for fire anymore, wildfire. And everybody's scrambling trying to get their new insurance and things like that. And the letter I received did such. It mentioned a index, a risk index that our area had been classified. That'd be pretty handy if I was in fire management in this area, or observe and stuff, to have whatever map these insurance companies are using to decide who's not getting covered. And then be able to focus those, or prioritize those, or do whatever, and be able to say, okay, these guys over here are not getting covered. Why? What can we do when you start talking about building these plans to help people remove stuff in certain instances from the house? So that was one thing.
Let me understand. So you're suggesting another map?
Well, I think it may be something that at least look into to see that's available, because if they have a map that says you live in this neighborhood, so we're not covering you anymore, seems like you'd want to have that same map.
There's a couple different layers to the insurance mapping challenge. There's like there's some public maps that are shared, and then there's the secret maps that the modeling companies provide to the insurance companies that they're not going to show us.
That's a proprietary.
And we've asked to see it, and they said no. Anyway, but there's things we can see, things we can know that are really, really important.
It helps you make things a little bit more efficient as you try to make your priorities and stuff. So then the third thing that I wanted to mention is this under the health section, we had to visit on the hospital. I wanted to mention about an area that's very exciting and proactive that you are participating in, and that is in the determination, social determination side of the healthcare, because what we always want to see in economics and capitalism and all the other stuff is how much does everything cost, and or how much am I making? But what is interesting is that when you look at the social determination of health, at least in general, the way I see this here, those savings and that promotion of those values offset so much that's qualitative, but ends up being an economic value somewhere. You don't make all these things happen, and all of a sudden you're not having to spend all this money over here anymore. You can go spend it over here, and it's not really accounted for in a lot of decision making yet. But I can see you guys are getting ready for it. I don't know how long you've had this kind of framework going, but this is cool. And I'm not sure everybody can really grasp what this potentially means, but it's a good deal. So congratulations to you guys on that. And then, okay, we already talked about sex.
Tell me again your first point there.
The very first one?
Yeah.
Was the satellite coverage is coming for infrastructure for communications.
What I heard specifically was pre-Super Bowl.
No, there was a commercial one. I just happened to see the cell tower commercial. Look, it's not a couple cell towers, and we've been visiting forever. Look, 20 years ago, we put a cell tower, and they told us then that within the next 10 years, they wouldn't need cell towers anymore. It was going to be all satellite. We're like, okay. well.
Okay, but yeah, so,
Okay.
anyway, I can talk to you, follow.
Well, I just told that's why I came up, like, that's why I cared about it. I didn't get to give it.
I think that with my comments, your comments, other comments that we've had, those comments, we all are trying to look into the future 10 years. And that's the tough part. We don't know what's gonna happen in 10 years. We're trying to provide something, but it's, I mean, we're not gonna be acting around everything.
All right, you want to run through the goals?
So the goals and the policies start on page 20. One of these. And there are, I believe, 25 policies and 12 goals. They are, the first goal, and I'm not gonna go through all these, are about facilities, county facilities. The second one is about wastewater technology. And then, so you can see they are each tied back to the section that, piece of information that we talked about. Education opportunities is goal 3. Goal 4 is another goal regarding prioritizing the social determinants of health, so recognizing that those are important to improve well-being. And then goal 5 is regarding utilities and installing utilities, whether it be a cell tower, satellite, what have you, it's compatible with community character. 6 is specific about broadband and supporting that program. 7 is important, coordinated delivery of emergency services and response to meeting the needs of all communities. Goal 8, and there were some edits here to make policy 15 here, to just make the wording more flow better, make it more reasonable. Number 8 is about a high level of fire protection and safety is provided throughout the county. So that is a goal, and there are challenges to it. Goal 9 is, again, reduce catastrophic wildfire impacts to the built environment. Goal 10 is avoid or mitigate dangers posed by identifiable or predictable and natural hazards, speaking to the emergency management plan and the emergency operations. Goal 11 is maintain a high level of emergency preparedness to effectively respond to disasters. And goal 12 then is neighborhoods and communities are safe and kind. So those are the overall arching goals that are tied back to the plan and then the supporting policies.
All right, that's super. Thanks. Okay, Rose, it's up to you to lead us off on any input on the goals.
All right. I don't have any problems with the way things are written. I just want to also just say thank you for the new one that you put down for number 24, the policy on insurance. So that I thought, well, that was really needed. But other than that, I think I don't have any other comments regarding the other goals. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Rose, just clarify again the policy number 24 on insurance.
What do you mean clarify?
The number,
Oh, you mean policy?
so just the number, this policy 24 is not regarding insurance.
No, I said page 24.
Page 24, thank you.
All right, and the policy CS 15.
Right, and this is where we kind of reworded this to make it more appropriate. But it is about advocate for fire adapted communities to reduce risk of wildfire impacts to communities and improve insurability for homeowners.
Thank you, Rose.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay.
I just want to highlight the So I really like goal utilities are installed in a manner that is compatible with community character, scenic resources, ecological conditions. My guess concern for Valley is the power lines that were just installed in 180. Personally, I don't really want to see power lines everywhere in the subdivision, so that's just a comment.
No, I just thought that, CS 14 make reference to the problem level one trauma center as an important policy of the ATM.
Did you want that modified?
That's my thoughts. It's just we'll make change emergency rooms with level one trauma center.
By the way, I don't mean to disagree with anybody, but I had a hip replacement at this facility right over here. And I had excellent care. Everything went just fine. No problems. I'm in great shape. There are doctors over there that can perform that surgery and do it very well.
Agreed. There is.
Aaron, the only one that came to mind was part of the mitigation is culvert cleaning. Maybe it's in the wrong section, but Silver Saddle, once the culvert's been cleaned, and we were getting all the flooding and the work makes this like people's homes got damaged because the culverts are clogged up. Whose responsibility is it? Or like hazard mitigation process for homeowners and some stuff.
I always have at least one,
That's why we.
goal CS1 facilities planning. You have, first policy about community planning efforts to create community hubs. And I don't recall seeing the community hub concept discussed in the chapter. I know we've discussed it in other chapters, but you might, so that this doesn't look like it comes out of nowhere, you might add somewhere something about the concept of community hubs that provide either routine services or at least emergency, services in emergencies. And then I thought of a follow-on that then would be policy CS.2 would be something about explore and expand partnerships with various kinds of entities in order to create some of those physical footprints for community hubs. And that's all. I have to say, at 6:30, I thought there was no freaking way we would be done by 7:05. Good job.
Are you good on all of this? Okay, my comment would be that, I'm guessing I'm past the point of being able to make a comment with regard to the renewable energy section. The social, determinant section that you have there, is where we are definitely moving with renewable energy as well. In analyzing and calculating and forecasting and whatever else, this ecological and social determinant of the values of these things that we put in place as renewable energy. So I don't know if I'll be able to at least throw that out at you and we can address it some other time. But I really do understand the potential of what those determinants are that have not been a part of evaluations in the past. And they, in most cases, are far greater than actually the developments or the projects that we're putting in place. And so hopefully we can have a discussion about that.
Would that be something then going back to the energy chapter?
Yes.
I think even the section on housing, if you look at homelessness as a.
Yeah, there's a power there. It's not political or anything else. It's economic. It's an understanding of the ripple effect. If we do this, what are the potential both positive and negative, positive aspects of it that are not generally a part of analysis of improving or disproving the project. The project could not seem very good up front and absolutely do terrific things down the road. But unless you understand what the potential for those things are, you might short-sheet yourself up front, or vice versa. With that, we need to ask the public if they have any comments before we say goodbye. I see that Keith has been very patient. I don't know if there's others up there, but well, yeah, there's I don't remember the other fellow's name from the ranch, but Keith, did you have any comments that you wanted to just to throw out at us before we head out?
Keith, can you hear us?
Okay, and then how would I address the one above that?
Oh, Laura's is our salt and happiness take notes.
Oh, coming back here, you guys all good? Thanks for being patient, hanging with us tonight. Really. Anyway, congratulations to all of you guys. Nice work. All right. We're done.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Oh, yes, a second.
Great meeting.
Your editors. Thank you, and it's all editing notes are always appreciated.
If you have questions, let me know. This is what we're doing to be this way.